Black women have a 41% higher mortality rate than white women. We have a 39% higher recurrence rate of breast cancer than white women. And Black women under 35 are getting breast cancer at twice the rate, dying at 3 times the rate of white women, which is crazy. So I said, well, something's got to be wrong with the science.
Welcome to Believe in Progress, the American Association for Cancer Research Foundation podcast. Join us and be inspired by the incredible stories of those who have faced cancer with strength and resilience, and the medical professionals who are working tirelessly to find new treatments and ultimately a cure. Believe in Progress isn't just about the science of cancer. It's about the human side of this disease. Together, we can make progress in the fight against cancer and bring hope to those who need it most. Ricki Fairley is the CEO and co-founder of Touch. She's also a triple-negative breast cancer survivor thriver. Ricki's personal purpose, passion, mission, ministry, and blessing is to bring focus, attention, research, science, and action to eradicating Black breast cancer and supporting and coaching what she calls her breasties through their breast cancer experience. Ricki is an award-winning, seasoned marketing veteran that has transformed her strategic acumen into breast cancer advocacy. Ricki co-founded and serves as CEO of Touch, the Black Breast Cancer Alliance, to address Black breast cancer as a unique and special disease state with the overall goal of reducing the mortality rate for Black women. Ricki founded and serves as co-host for The Doctor Is In, a weekly live breast cancer advocacy web series on the blackdoctor.org Facebook page that reaches over 3 million viewers. She's a founding member of hashtag Black Data Matters in partnership with Citizen, the Center for Healthcare Innovation, and Morehouse School of Medicine to encourage and elevate the importance of Black women participating in clinical trial research. In January of 2022, she started the When We Try All movement to change the game on Black women participating in clinical trials to improve outcomes for Black women with breast cancer. Ricki serves on the board of trustees for the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation, where she chairs the marketing committee. She's a board member for the Center for Healthcare Innovation, a nonprofit research and educational institute making healthcare more equitable. She avidly works with pharmaceutical companies to provide the patient voice for breast cancer awareness, action, therapy/drug development, and advocacy. Ricki has 2 daughters, Amanda Brown Learman and Haley Brown, both also graduates of Dartmouth College, like their mom, and 3 granddaughters, Belle, Leah, and Hart, who remind her of her purpose every day. Ricki, welcome to the ACR podcast, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much. You read the whole thing. Wow.
It's
great to be here.
It's quite it's a very impressive intro, and you're a very impressive person. I'm a grandfather of 2. I have 2 grandsons, and you know what you just said there at the end is so true. I work hard every day also, so they don't have to deal with cancer when they get a little bit older as well. And as we both realized just a minute ago, that we both grew up within a mile of each other
Probably less than a mile, right?
in Silver Spring, Maryland. So listen, we're delighted to have you here today. And I was hoping maybe you could talk to the audience a little bit about your cancer experience. You know, when you discovered you had cancer. You know, at the time, I think you were working as a marketing executive and were diagnosed with a late stage breast cancer subtype that quickly spread to your chest wall. Can you walk us through where you were and when you first learned about having cancer, please?
Sure. So my baby daughter was about to start her sophomore year at Dartmouth, and she had been in China all summer. And so I usually do my annual mammogram, which I always was religious about because my mom had breast cancer 15 years before me. And I waited that year because I was so busy. I was doing, on 3 airplanes every week, 4 airplanes every week. And I'm just going to wait till Haley comes home. We'll do all the appointments. And so I set up the dentist appointment, the gynae appointment, all that stuff. And so we went to the doctor together, and my doctor found a lump. Had I been doing self-exams, I would have found it, but I didn't, and I wasn't. And so I went into this quick whirlwind of being diagnosed with breast cancer. So I was packing Haley up to go to school. We're trying to get her back to school. We went to Dartmouth. I went to Target 40 times, bought all the stuff, and I was on my way at the Boston airport to do a 3-week business trip to the West Coast. And so as I'm going through security in Boston, my doctor called and said, yes, Ricki, you do have breast cancer. And I said, well, I have to give a speech tomorrow to 300 people and I haven't written it yet. Can I call you back? And like, it just went over my head. And so I got on the plane to San Francisco. I got it the next morning. I did my speech. I then went to Los Angeles, did another speech, and then 3 days went by, and I really didn't even think about it. I think I did call my mom somewhere in that realm of whatever thingy, but it was like a foreign object that was sort of like surrounding my head, but not in it.
Right.
And so my doctor called me again and said, okay, Ricki, you not only have breast cancer, but you have triple negative breast cancer. And I said, well, that doesn't sound so bad. Triple negative, like how bad could that be? And then I went to Dr. Google. And Dr. Google said, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're really going to die. So I said, maybe I better go home. So I went home. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I went into the whirlwind of triple negative breast cancer. So I did a double mastectomy by choice, really. And then I did 6 rounds of standard of care chemo, 6 weeks of radiation. And my doctor said, okay, you have no evidence of disease. Come back in 2 months for another PET scan. And so I thought I was fine. So I went back it was almost a year to the day of my first diagnosis. And they found 5 spots on my chest wall.
Oh, boy.
And my doctor, who was pretty young, had only had 2 cases of triple negative, and both of the women died after 9 months. She said, okay, Ricki, you're now metastatic. You have 2 years to live. Get your affairs in order. And I said, well, I can't really die right now.
Are you in Atlanta now?
Yeah, in Atlanta.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can't really die right now. I have a daughter at Dartmouth. I've got to pay tuition. I got to work. So I was a breadwinner for my family. And so I said, me, you, and guidance of drugs or something. We got to work this out. What have you got for me? And she really didn't know what to do. And so I went to Dr. Google, and everything said, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. But on the 3rd page of Dr. Google, I found the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation. So I gave a call to them. Haley Dinnerman is still my sister from another mother.
Yes, know her.
And one of my best friends. And she recommended a doctor. So I'm going to find a doctor for you. And so she sent me to Ruth O'Regan, who was at Emory, and she's an amazing oncologist. And she was probably one of about 5 docs that were actually researching triple negative at the time. And so she put me on some experimental drugs and said, okay, I don't know if it's going to work, but let's try it. And I didn't die, and it's 11 years.
Unreal. Now, how did you get to Haley at triple negative? Just do your own research?
Yeah, through Google, Dr. Google. It was on the 3rd page of Google. I had to keep scrolling. And when I found her, she answered the phone and she said, I'm going to help you. And she did. And we still work together pretty much. I talk to her almost every day.
Well, you're serving on the board of that group as well, right?
I'm on the board. I've been on the board. I got on the board as soon as I got better. She really put me to work as an advocate and taught me how to do it. And I've been on the board ever since. I was the board chair for 6 years or so since then. But Black women get triple negative at 3 times the rate of white women, and we don't really know why.
Right.
And we're getting it at younger ages and later stages, and it's a horrible disease for us. So I really just, and actually the first national study didn't even come out about triple negative and its impact on Black women until about 2018. And that's when I started to put together the data about Black women, and I started digging into the science because the numbers started coming out that Black women have a 41% higher mortality rate than white women. We have a 39% higher recurrence rate of breast cancer than white women. And Black women under 35 are getting breast cancer at twice the rate, dying at 3 times the rate of white women, which is crazy. So I said, well, something's got to be wrong with the science. Like, what's wrong with this picture?
Right.
And so I got one of my oncologist friends to help me dig back into history. And we actually pulled the clinical trials for the drugs that are standard of care that we all take. Taxotere, adriamycin, Cytoxan, Taxol, all those drugs. And there were no Black women in those trials. And so it has to be that they're not working. They're not working to the effect that they should, or having the favorable impact that they should. And then I said, okay, well, what's happening now? Like, how many women are in research? And it's 3% participation in clinical trials, which is 0.
Right.
So I said, oh my goodness, we have to change the science. We have to figure out how to get better science and better drugs. And I did a big research study. We talked to 48 Black women in qualitative interviews, and then another 250 in a quant study to really understand the emotional barriers to clinical trial participation. And we know there's Henrietta Lacks and all those sort of, earned medical mistrust that exists in our Black community, but I knew it was deeper than that. I'm a marketing person, so I knew it was deeper, and I wanted to uncover and unpack the emotional barriers and what the real fears were. And so we talked to them and we learned a lot of things. We learned, first of all, that guess what? Black women aren't invited to clinical trials by their doctors,
Right.
and they don't know about them. If you don't know about them, how are you going to even, participate?
Why
And
is
then
that, do you think?
they're
Why?
just, implicit bias, racism,
Right.
all the bad things.
Right.
Um, oh, she's a single mom. She's not going to comply with the regimen. Oh, she's her transportation. She can't afford it. Like, they make a lot of assumptions about our ability to actually experience the trial. And so I don't know, I
Yeah.
wish I knew more.
Ca-
And we can talk about
Can
that
I
in a
can I
minute,
take a
but
step back for 1 second? I'm
yeah,
just curious
sure.
about you and how are you doing right now with your cancer battle? I mean, where are you? I mean,
I
and
am
yep,
fine.
okay,
I am healthy as an ox. I
that's
am
awesome.
so healthy. I go paddleboarding every day that I can on the Chesapeake Bay.
Nothing like
I
that.
I run with my granddaughters. I am so healthy that it makes me have survivor guilt so many times because I have so many sick friends that
Yeah.
had what I had and either didn't make it or are struggling. And so I'm so blessed to be healthy.
So I'm kind of curious, looking at mental health during a cancer battle. First of all, checking in with you that you're feeling great now is fantastic. But what's the best advice that you would have for anyone struggling through their own battle for maintaining their mental health? Because I think attitude plays a pretty big role in trying to help you battle through cancer, right?
It really does. And I had a great support system, which a lot of people don't have, but I really did. Everybody rallied around me, my friends and my family. But I think the minute you're diagnosed, the second you're diagnosed, you have to say, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor now. And you have to believe that you're going to get better. You have to believe that you can tackle this mountain and that you can tackle this monster and you're going to come out on the other side. And I think it's easier when you're early stage. It's harder when you're metastatic, but I think you just have to believe and have faith that you're going to make it. And it's almost like jumping off a cliff with God and say, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to jump off that cliff. And I really had to relinquish my faith. And I always sort of had this spiritual gift of faith, but it was never tested before. And I just had to believe that I was going to be okay. And I've really just handed it over. Okay, God, you've got me. I got to do this. I got to put this kid through school, so we got to work it out.
Right.
And I just let it go.
And Ricky, I loved in the bio where, you said you're a survivor, but slash thriver. And I
Yeah.
want to tell you that we in the past, I'm on almost my 10th year here at ACR. We had a campaign a few years ago where we talked about thrivers. And tell me a little bit about that saying thriver and why do you say that?
I'm going to live my best life every day. Whatever it is, I'm going to live every day like it's my last day. And I think that's what we all have to do is like wake up in the morning and say, okay, what can I tackle today? What can I do? And take on the world and never be constrained by what you can do. And having cancer and being told you're going to die makes you fearless.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally go paddleboarding in the dark in the morning. There's no other boats on the water. I think some of my neighbors are watching because they take pictures of me in the morning with my dog on my paddleboard, but I really don't care. I have no fear. My only fear in my life is my daughters or my kids getting cancer.
Right.
That's my only fear, and me getting it back, obviously. But you become fearless because you've conquered something that is really hard, and you just have to take it on and not let it rain on your parade.
What kind of marketing did you used to do and you do now?
So I did, my marketing now is advocacy,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
I work for some big corporations. I've pretty much worked in every category. I worked for Nabisco. I worked for Coke. My last real big marketing job, I've done marketing for Jack Daniels, for insecticides, for every category.
Wow.
So I really do think like a brand manager, like what's in the mindset of the consumer and what behavior do you want them to change? And how do you give them the right messaging based on insights to get them to change that behavior? And that's what I'm doing right now with advocacy. I'm just
Hmm.
taking those disciplines and applied them to how to help cancer patients think differently and act differently, and how to make people who don't have cancer know their risks and act differently because of them.
So let's chat a bit about these racial disparities, and can you talk to us a little bit about your work in this area? And I guess I'm so really impressed with you being a co-founder of Touch. I'd love to learn a little bit more about that and let the audience hear about that because it's an impressive group, and I know you're just kind of getting it going and really going to make it happen. And just sitting here talking to you for a few minutes, I know it's going to be a huge success.
Thank you so much. And Miss, I started Touch because of the numbers for Black women. And I said, we're not paying enough attention to the science that we need, and the drugs aren't working. And I really wanted to focus on Black breast cancer. So I started saying those words, Black breast cancer.
Yes.
And I started saying them to pharma at like SABCS conference and
Yes.
saying, well, what does that mean? And I said, well, let's look at that. It's different. We're different. And now we have this growing body of research that's validating that a Black breast cancer cell looks different from a white one, that there may be some genes that we're uncovering in West Africa that aren't on the genetic panel that we test for in the States, that the genomics could be different. And so I just started challenging pharma and challenging the system, saying, what we need to be looking at this differently. And one of my favorite quotes is Albert Einstein, a problem cannot be solved within which the framework it was created. And I said, you guys, we have to turn this upside down, flip it over, because the science isn't working. And so we set out on this mission to advance the science, and that's what we've been doing. And because I am a marketing person, everything I do is insight based. I talk to patients, I talk to the consumer, I talk to, the parties involved and said, okay, what's in your head now? What do we need to change about it? Whether it's a patient or a doctor or a pharma company or a researcher. Like, you have to, question the status quo and figure out, basically admit that your baby's ugly. And I do that every day. I did it already today twice with two pharma companies and say, your baby's ugly, but I'm going to help you because you're not seeing it the way patients are seeing it. You're not listening to the patient voice. And they want to say that. They want to say they're listening, but they really just don't know how to do the words. And I think we've cracked the nut on that. And so we went on this mission to get more Black women into clinical trials. And so we took all the research that we did and put it in a pot, stirred it up, and then crafted over every word, every language. And we learned that the breasty voice is the only voice of trust. We don't trust doctors. We don't trust researchers. We don't trust pharma, but we trust another breastie who's had what we had. And so I learned that it was really important to explain the science from my voice, from a breasty voice. So we built our platform based on videos. So you could go on this video and find women who look like you, who sound like you, who share experiences with you, and you get it, and you understand the science. And it was really fear of the unknown.
Is this on the Touch website?
On the Touch, so on our When We Trial, whenwetrial.org website,
yes,
which is connected, but whenwetrial.org, but it's fear of the unknown. They think you're going to get the sugar pill and die. And the mistrust is there, but it's more about just not understanding what standard of care is. What, that Advil you took last week was in a clinical trial. That medicine you gave your dog was in a clinical trial. And when you break it down from the voice of a breastie, they get it and they want to sign up. And so we launched this campaign a year ago. We did a lot of social media because we knew where to find breasties, because I wanted to make sure they had accurate information because our network is so small. And then we did a radio campaign, and then we hit the road. And between May and December, we did 25 events across the country that were not health events. We went to hair shows, beauty shows. We went to churches, but not for the health fair. We walked the beach in Martha's Vineyard when all the bougie Black people were there in pink bikinis. We went to the Essence Fest and walked around New Orleans in pink tutus. And we did what I call iconic things to be different. And we've now signed up 8,000 Black women for clinical trial portals.
That's great. That's great. By the way, I think in the intro, it talked about your work with Citizen.
Yes.
So, I know the founder of Citizen quite, he's from Maryland,
Yes.
Anil Sethi.
Yes.
And so I know Anil, I've go way back with him. He's now
That's
moved
awesome.
on, but I was really kind of pleased to see that. And so and that's kind of trying to help with clinical trials as well, right?
Well, yeah, what
Yeah.
they're doing is it's the trial matching service. So
Yes.
basically, I have an app on my phone that has my whole medical record. So, when you get ready, when you want to do a trial, you have to like send all the stuff, and it's like a red tape nightmare for educated people. And so basically, they collect all of your medical records, put them into an app. I can look back and look at my scans from 2011. And so I can just forward that app to a trial doctor and have my records, translated very quickly and easily. Also, they match you to trial. So they were starting matching for triple negative, and they expanded to metastatic breast cancer. But they find a trial based on your biology, your genomics, and your genetics, and your body type, and your cancer. And it helps with the whole matching process because, going to clinicaltrials.gov is like going to hell blindfolded.
Yes.
And so they take the pain away. So they've been a great partner. They now have been bought by Invitae.
Yes. Isn't
They have a great story.
Fareed the
Fareed, Fareed,
CEO?
yes.
Wonderful guy, wonderful guy.
He's a wonderful guy. He actually texted me the other day. We had a text conversation because I'm in San Francisco. I was going to try to hook up
Well,
with
you
him
tell
today.
him Mitch said hi. He'll
Okay.
know.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. So, are you seeing a change? Are you starting to see a change with as far as getting more Black women into clinical trials?
Well, we've signed up 8,000 women into
Yep.
portals. We can't, it's hard to tell what happens because there's so many factors that go into a trial decision, right? Once they go into the portal, but it's not enough. I mean, I am seeing a change, but I do feel like I've cracked the nut on how to do it. And now we're just trying to figure out how to amplify that message and get anyone who wants to talk to a Black woman about a clinical trial, we can teach you how to do it. And I can convince them in 5 minutes. And so we're trying to figure out how to get more partners engaged and how to get more people using our tools and using our website and our videos because they're working. So we still have a lot more work to do, but we also need more mandates from the FDA. I mean, now the FDA has this guidance in place that pharma companies have to do it, but it really starts with the pharma company saying, you know what, we're not doing this right. We need help. And that we need to think about it differently. And that's what we're also starting to do a lot of that work, working with various pharma companies on specific trials to help them recruit Black women. Like I'm here in California right now working with a pharma company to help them to meet with their PIs of a trial. We're writing informed consent documents. We're developing the materials for how to recruit for a trial. And that's all the work I want to do because I think that's where we can make a bigger impact is to work with trials from the very beginning, to bring in the patient voice, to use our video tools to really help pharma do a better job recruiting.
What else is Touch about? What else do you want to see Touch? What kind of impact is Touch trying to make? I know, again, my team has had conversations with you. We've been working with triple negative breast cancer, and we certainly would like to start working with Touch as well.
Yeah, we'd love to. I've kind of been on the back end of that relationship because I'm so
Yeah.
close to Haley. We do so many things together. But yeah, if we could do more work on TNBC and getting drugs right. I mean, right now we only have 2 drugs, only one for early stage, right? And so we need more. We need more solutions, more therapies. So that's a huge thing that we're working on. So any kind of trials from that perspective we can work on, that would be great. Like I know that Gilead and Merck have the 2 drugs, and now they have trials together with putting the drugs together.
Yes.
Take the best that we have and put them together in the same lab. How cool is that? So
very cool.
If we can encourage more collaboration, that's great. The other initiative that we're working on, and really my daughter Haley started it. She was a teacher for 8 years, and she said, "Okay, Mom, I need help. I'm coming to help you." Okay, and so thank God she's been working with us now for almost a year, and so she just launched a campaign called "For the Love of My Girls," spelled GURLS. The website is loveofmygirls.org. And we're reaching out to young Black women, 18 to 35, who do not have a cancer diagnosis to understand their risk. And as we sort of cultivated this concept of Black breast cancer, we're now trying to build around Black breast health. Because if cancer is different for Black women, so is taking care of yourself different. And it basically has 3 calls to action. Understand that you have a different kind of opportunity or disease opportunity, right? Your bodies are different. That you need to understand her story. Talk to your mom and your grandma on both sides. Understand where you came from, and these conversations are often very difficult in Black families. We just don't talk about health, and so we have a lot of tools to help you talk to your grandma and get her to open up about who died of what. And lastly, then check your breast. So make checking your breast as part of your self-care regimen. So you're going to get your nails done, you're getting your hair done, you're getting massages, you're hanging out with the girls. So integrate your filling your boobs, checking your boobs into your life as part of your lifestyle, and not about cancer, but about, just checking yourself. Like if you're like you put on, like you're getting your nails done, check your breast. And so we launched a really cool video. If you go to our website, Love of My Girls, spelled GURLS.org, you'll see it. And we're doing a lot of events. We're doing roller skating parties across the country with young women. The status quo has not worked.
Right.
It's not worked. So we have to think differently.
Reinvent, right?
Right. Reinvent or restart, like do it differently. And we're trying to get everybody to think that way. And so I spend a lot of time with pharma saying, your baby's ugly, but let's fix it. Let's fix that baby. Put a pretty hat on her.
So you must be extremely proud of your daughters. Now they both went to Dartmouth to follow in mom's footsteps. Is that true? Yeah.
My oldest daughter, Amanda, she worked for Obama from her sophomore year of college.
Okay.
And was in the White House, for 8 years in the Obama White House, and came out and ran Supermajority, and she actually just got a new job working for GoFundMe.
Okay.
And Haley has been an elementary school teacher, and now she's bringing all those great education tools
Yes.
to our advocacy, because it's so great how she thinks about it differently, because she understands how to educate better than me. So I
Yes.
think between our marketing and our education, we're going to be able to do great things in terms of effectively communicate these concepts to Black women in a different way.
Well, Ricki, so thankful to get a few minutes of your time, especially while you're traveling out in San Francisco and as busy as you are. You're a bundle of positive energy, and I love it. And the organization, my team, we've loved working with Triple Negative, and we'll certainly love starting to explore ideas and working with Touch. And the AACR is all about what you're trying to do. And if our listeners want to find out more about your organization, could you please tell them where you'd like them to go? And we'll put this up in the notes as well, but just like to hear that from you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for a partnership, and I know what you've done with TNBC Foundation, and it's all great things to advance science. But our website is touchbbca.org, touchbbca.org. Our clinical trial website is whenwetrial.org. And our young women's website is loveofmygirls.org. And they're all connected. If you go to
Okay.
Touch, you can kind of find everything. But check out our video gallery on whenwetrial.org. The videos are really compelling and are making a difference in our community. And we love our work on Love of My Girls. We're trying to be different and fun and make it not so painful and try to help women understand what they're up against.
We will absolutely do that. And what river do you paddle boat on a daily basis when
On
you're
the
in Annapolis?
Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, you're on the bay. You're on the
I
bay.
live on the bay. I live on a marina off the bay, and it's
Okay.
so beautiful. I'm like 2 marinas from downtown Annapolis,
Yes.
and anyone can join me. And I'll give you my email. It's ricki@touchbbca.org. Email me and come paddleboard with me, and come back to Annapolis, Mitch, and we'll go paddleboarding.
We will do that. I might be falling off the board, but I'll give it my best shot. That's for
Give it
darn
your best
sure.
shot. Well, there's no sharks in the bay.
I'll go
Just
walking
stay
and
safe.
running with you as well. So how's
Okay.
that?
That's-
Listen, you inspire me, and you've inspired me here the last 30 minutes, and really appreciate what you're doing. And more importantly, you're making one hell of an impact out there. So you should be really proud. I'm proud to have you on this podcast. So have a great trip, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Will you come into the annual meeting in Orlando?
Yes, I'll be there. I know.
Then you and I will meet in person, and that will be
great.
very nice.
Great. The Sams invited me. I'll be so happy to see the Sams together.
The Sams, and you'll get to meet Mitch too. All right,
Great.
Ricki, have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Blessing.
Once again, thank you to our listeners, supporters, and donors. Remember, your support drives the progress against cancer. As you heard on this episode, Black women are about 40% more likely to die of overall breast cancer. A big problem is that Black patients made up 12% of new breast cancer cases in 2020, but Black patients only made up 3% of the participants in breast cancer clinical trials that led to the FDA approvals between 2008 and 2018. You can get involved and help spread the word by sharing this episode with a friend, subscribing to our podcast, and heading over to our website, aacr.org, to consider making a donation. Thank you so much for listening to Believe in Progress, the AACR podcast. This podcast is produced by CollegeCast LLC. Please visit www.collegecastpodcast.com for more information. And remember, cancer research saves lives.